Hey everyone, Simon here with some Q&A astrology today based on very common questions that I get as an astrologer. So let's go. Let's see if I can answer those, because if one person has them, probably a lot of you have these questions. So here's the first one. What is the difference between Vedic and Western astrology? Now, I know a lot of people have answered this using ecliptics and solely lunar calendars and sidereal zodiac versus tropical zodiac. I'm not going to use any of that terminology, okay? I'm going to make it really simple. Both systems use the same planets, the same signs, the same houses. All of that's pretty much the same. So what is different? What's different is, you know, when you get a phone bill, when you sign up for your iPhone or Galaxy phone, whatever it is, and let's say you signed up on the 12th. So your cycle is due, your phone bill is due on the 12th of every month, and that's 1 month, right? So from March 12th to April 12th is a month, and so on. And that's when your phone bill is due. So for the purposes of your phone bill, that's 1 month. Now, for someone else who is using the calendar, the monthly calendar, January, February, March, April, a month begins January 1st, ends at the end of the month, right? That's a month. So what's the difference between those 2 months? It's akin to the difference between Vedic and Western. So Vedic uses the calendar month. It says, listen, January 1st is January 1st. The end of the month is the end of the month. That's a real month. Tropical astrology says, well, wait, we have to go with how the seasons are going, and the season of right now start March 21st. So from March 21st through April 21st, that's my month. That's Aries. Whereas Vedic says something else, April 15th through March 15th. So it's kind of like that, like the difference between a calendar month, January, February, March, versus a billing cycle. Now, which one is real? Well, they're both real. You can't, if you call your phone company and say, you know, and it's, your bill was due on the 12th and it's the 15th, and you're calling, well, it's not the end of the month yet. March, 31st hasn't come. They'll be like, sir, your bill was due on the 12th, so you owe an extra fee, right? They don't care that the month technically ends on the 31st. For them, it ended on the 12th. So tropical astrology is very realistic that way and says, no, we're going to take how the seasons are. So spring starts March 21st. So that's the beginning of the zodiac. That's our cycle. And so what if it doesn't, that it isn't backed by the stars? So Vedic astrology says, well, we use the backdrop of the stars, the fixed calendar, if you will, right? So that's the difference. One uses one calendar, the other uses a different calendar, but they're both valid, they're both real, they both give you very insightful predictions. It's all about the person, the astrologer, right? It doesn't matter so much what system they use. Have you ever been to a great naturopath doctor, and then a great Ayurvedic doctor, and then a great allopathic doctor? All of them will heal you. All of them will give you therapies that make you better if they're good doctors. If they're bad doctors, it doesn't matter what they use. They're going to mess you up. Okay, so same thing with astrology. If you have a good astrologer, it doesn't matter the system they use. All right, so let's go to question number 2. Is it true you can change your destiny by spending your birthday in a different place? Wow, this is a interesting question. Now, obviously, this question implies people know some astrology. So here's the premise. Every year, you have what's called a solar return. It's your birthday chart. And the premise says, well, wait, you were born in a certain place and you've got this kind of crappy karma. What if you go to a different place, celebrate your birthday there, and you create a new, nice solar return chart versus staying in your hometown? Does that work? Well, the answer is simple. Maybe. No, no maybes, no maybes. The answer is mostly no, to be honest with you. Here's why. I have changed my opinion because I used to believe that it was very much possible to change your destiny by spending your birthday at a different place. However, in the last year or so, I've amended it because the old school astrologers, namely Dr. Chudak, who has written a book called Secrets of Varshafal, and two books on Varshafal, which is the solar return chart in Sanskrit. He was adamant. I asked him. He said, "No, your solar return is based on your place of birth." And I thought, okay, let me test it out. And I've tested it with clients and with myself. And reluctantly, I have to say that he's probably right. Now, there are exceptions. So if you go and spend your birthday somewhere and then come back to the place you live, it's not going to change your solar return chart. But if you live in a different place, let's say you were born in Delhi, India, but now you live in New York, and you've lived in New York for the last 20 years. And every year you get a solar return chart. If you spend all of the year in the place where you spent your birthday, like New York, then I'm going to say that is definitely going to have an influence. Maybe 50-50, maybe 60-40 in favor of your birth chart, birthplace. So the birthplace is always going to have ascendancy. It's going to have, no pun intended, that's a astrological nerd pun. Ascendancy means importance. The birth chart is always going to have its say. But if you spent, say, 20 years of your life in New York, well, that should also have its say. So I'm going to give at least 50% to your birthplace, in this case, Delhi, and maybe 50% to the new place, or maybe 60-40, 60% to your birth chart. But in any case, if you've lived there a while, yes, you can use that different chart for fine-tuning, but your birth chart never goes away. Okay, so is it true you can change your destiny by spending your birthday? Not really, but if you spend not just your birthday, but the whole year there, somewhat, yes. Okay, so there's no cheating karma. There's no flying to Costa Rica for the night and then coming back. No, you can't do that. And there's a dictum in astrology that says, because when astrologers used to travel a lot, it says you have to at least spend one sunrise and one sunset at a place before you can start doing readings. And the same thing applies. So I would say a minimum of 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours in a place before you can settle in and start even consulting the stars, astrology. Okay, so that's a little tip for those of you who travel a lot. Give it a day to settle in. Don't start doing astrology the moment you land somewhere, because your astral body, your mind, it's all trying to catch up to you. Okay, so chill out, go to the beach, relax 24 hours, and then you can open your computer or your books and start doing astrology. Okay, third question. How do you pick a good time to travel? Speaking of traveling, this is a good question, but this one is more involved, so I'm just going to launch right in. And there's a number of things to look at. Here they are. First of all, you want a good ascendant. The ascendant of the chart is the key, just as it is to a human chart, as it is to a travel chart. And specifically, you want to avoid what's called an ayuddha drekana. Ayuddha means warlike, weapon. Also sarpa drekana and nigada drekana. These are, nigada means fetter, tied up. So if you travel during that, or a sarpa drekana, which is a snake wrapped around you, you tend to have restrictions and delays. Ayuddha drekana tends to have problems, but it should also be occupied or aspect by a malefic for it to really produce bad results. So if there's an Ayuddha drekana, no big deal, sarpa, but if there's also, say, Saturn or Rahu is there, then you have a problem. Okay, so what are the Ayuddha drekanas? The first and the third of Aries, meaning 0 to 10 degrees Aries and 20 to 30 degrees Aries. A Drekana is a 10-degree chunk of the 360-degree pie, okay, of the zodiac. So you can see the Drekanas here, the first and the third, the second and the third of Gemini, that is 10 to 20 degrees, and then 20 to 30 degrees of Gemini. This is Vedic Gemini, okay? So this is not, if you're a Western astrologer, these Drekanas, these decanates, refer to the Vedic chart. So you have to add 24 degrees to them, okay, to come up with the Western equivalent. All right, so then the Sarpa Drekanas are the second and third of Cancer, and the first and second of Scorpio, and finally the third of Pisces. Some also use the second of Pisces. It's up to you. So what is the rule? If one of these is rising and there is a malefic planet in that sign, doesn't have to be in the Drekana. So let's say 5 degrees Aries is rising and Saturn is at 28 degrees Aries. You have a problem. Okay, that ascendant is jacked. All the more reason because there's a debilitated malefic in the ascendant and in Ayudha Drekana. Okay. What else? Well, avoid an afflicted ascendant. Lagna means ascendant. So again, if there are malefics, if the ruler of the ascendant is in the 8th house. Now here there are many ways an ascendant can be afflicted. So if you're new to this and you have an important trip coming up, you may want to contact your local astrologer, be it Vedic or Western, because the Western astrologers have different techniques for picking a good travel time. This is more pointed towards not picking a bad one. Because if you don't pick a bad one, it should be fine. Avoid Rahu Kala. Rahu Kala is the time of Rahu, which is not auspicious for starting travel. You can travel during Rahu Kalam, but don't start your trip in the Rahu Kalam. So if Rahu Kalam, the way to check is you go to drikpanchang.com. You've drikpanchang.com, Drikpanchang. Okay, and it will tell you, or get a good app, Cosmic Insights, or there are many good apps that will show you the Rahu Kala. Then avoid your dying bird. What is that? Okay, so let me, oops, got to plug in the old computadora here. Okay, give me 1 second. See, maybe I didn't pick a good time to do this presentation, but maybe I did. And maybe this is just a minor obstacle to overcome. Okay, the computadora is fixed. All right, so what is the dying bird? Let me do a quick share here. And so in Vedic astrology, there's something called the Panchapakshi. Panchapakshi is the 5 birds. It's what it literally means. And each of these birds, so you can find out what your bird is, depending on when you were born. Again, there are apps for this. And so let's say, for example, your bird is a vulture. So on any given day, you want to check when that vulture is sleeping, when that vulture is running, walking, and when it's dying. So here is, I hope you can see here, let's see. Bada bing, bada boom. So here is a chart. And good quality software will have the bird. So now, let's say you're a crow. Okay, so my bird is a crow, let's say, and I want to leave. This shows you the times when that bird is sleeping, when it's ruling, walking, and eating. You want to avoid the dying time for obvious reasons. It's very tired. It wants to rest. It's not a good time to begin things. It's a good time to end things. Okay, so that's between 7 in the morning and 9:30. There are also night times. And you can see between 7:20 p.m. to 9:42, it's also a dying period for this bird. Now, if you're not a crow, you can just click and find your bird. Let's say you're a vulture. Now, for vulture, for vulture, it'll change. Okay, I believe it changed here. Sometimes the software doesn't do it correctly, and you have to just pull the chart on you. What's the point of all of this? This is yet another way to find a good time. So what if some of these conflict, though? There's so many things. Ayudha Drekana, good lagnas, Rahu Kala, good bird, bad bird, big bird, yellow bird, free bird. How do you know? Well, especially if some of them contradict. So here's an easy way to make it work. Let's say you have to leave during this dying time. Let's say you have to leave at 5 o'clock, right? Well, what do you do? Like, you have to leave then. And by the way, travel begins when you first step foot outside of your door. It's not what time the plane leaves. It's not even when the car leaves. It's when you got your luggage and you step outside of your door, and that's when your trip has begun. That's your birth outside of the house. That's the birth chart of your trip, because that's when you come out of the house, when you were born. Make sense? So that's what we're looking for as a time, as a good travel time. So how do we find the best time, even if we have to leave, say, during a dying period? Here's what you do. You get your suitcases and your luggage ready, and you place it near the door, packed, ready to go, and you don't touch it. And you do that, you place it near the door at a good time. So let's say you do that, you're gonna do that around 3 p.m. here, during the eating time, which is just fine. So on your trip, you're gonna eat a lot. You're gonna eat good food. You're gonna experience a lot of munchies. If you leave during a walking time, you're gonna do a lot of traveling, bicycling, back and forth, back and forth. If you leave during a ruling time, you get what you want. You'll have a great time. If you leave during a sleeping time, you'll be tired all the time. Or it's a good time to take a trip to an ashram to rest. If your intention is to just lounge on the beach or by the lake, then that's what you'll do. So this is kind of a qualitative look at what you're likely to experience on your trip. But anyway, you don't want to leave during the dying. So at, say, 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, you put your luggage by the door and you don't touch it. Then, even though you have to leave at 5, when 5 o'clock rolls around, your luggage is already sort of, the intention is there. It's already been set at 2 o'clock. So you just go pick up the luggage and leave. But you don't add anything to it. So you don't set it down at 2 o'clock and then at, 4:59, you go, oh, I forgot to add the toothbrush, and then you put the toothbrush in there. Nope, you've messed it up. So you pack the luggage, put it at the good time, and then leave whenever you want to. All right, that's if you can't leave at an auspicious time. Or, or let's say there's a, well, look here, this is a Nigada Drekana rising, but there's no malefic influence on it, so it should be fine. Well, Gulika is there. Okay, so this is literally the chart for this moment right now. And so there you go. Maybe this is why I had to plug in the computer. Nigada means a fetter, to be tied to a chain. So I'm tied to my, my cord, my power cord here, which I just had to plug in. So I had to move and tie my machine to it, or else I would have lost power. That's this is what I'm talking about. And Gulika is a mild malefic. Mild because just because it's in the Lagna is not a big deal, but it is a big deal if it's within a couple of degrees of the ascendant. And look at that, it is here right now. So this is an okay lagna, but not great. Okay, and then for other reasons, the ruler of the ascendant is in the 12th, and yada yada. Let's say I still have to leave during this time, then I would find an earlier ascendant. Let's say, I don't know, something like this, where we have a benefic in the ascendant. There is no sarpadrekana. Everything is, pretty much okay. So maybe right around this time, I actually set my luggage on the table. Oh, for South Indian astrologers, there we go. We look at that. So this is now, we have Jupiter in the ascendant. The ruler of the ascendant is a good house. It aspects back. The moon is well placed. This is a good lagna. Even if I can't leave during this time, put your luggage there. Set the intention and don't touch it. Don't move it. Just leave it. And that's it. So if this is all way too much to consider, then again, consider consulting a decent astrologer, Western or Vedic, because like I said, in the hands of a good practitioner, you will find what you're looking for. All right, I hope this was all useful to you guys. And if you have questions that you'd like me to address in a future video, put them down in the comments. I don't typically read a lot of comments, but on this video I will. So if you have specific questions, I'll try to answer them. All right, all the best. Bye for now.